I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, the Israeli Prime Minister receives a very warm welcome in Washington. Hamas appoints a convicted terrorist to be their new leader, and Israeli scientists begin working on the 21st century version of Noah's Ark. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be wrapping up what he's calling an enormously successful trip to Washington today, with even more meetings with senior American officials. Later this morning, the Israeli leader will be holding talks with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence. So far, Netanyahu's held other closed-door talks with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, as well as their counterparts in Congress. All of the discussions centered on the issues of Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, and the Palestinians. House Speaker Paul Ryan added that he also spoke with the visiting premier about ways to bolster Israel's qualitative military edge, while also fighting international efforts to delegitimize the Jewish state. Netanyahu also met with Republican Senators Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and Bob Corker. The latter heads the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, which will be holding its first confirmation hearing of U.S. President Donald Trump's pick for ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, later today. Of course, the apex of the Israeli Prime Minister's trip to Washington was his summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. In the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders since Trump's victory in the 2016 election, the Republican president dropped a political bombshell by backing away from supporting the eventual creation of a Palestinian state. His position upends the long-standing bedrock of Middle East policy taken by successive administrations as well as the international community. Trump is vowing to work toward achieving a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians, but says it will require compromise on both sides, and that it's up to the parties themselves to ultimately agree on the terms of any prospective agreement. Several American Jewish groups are now voicing dismay over that stance and publicly reaffirming their own commitments to a two-state solution. Meanwhile, even though Trump is also somewhat unexpectedly urging Israel to curb settlement construction, Netanyahu remains extremely upbeat.
We had a great meeting. We're going to discuss this issue among other issues, but I have to say that I think the strength of the American-Israeli alliance has never been as good. Certainly it's going to get even better.
On settlement stuff?
I think we'll try to find a common understanding that is consistent with the pursuit of peace and security.
Those statements were echoed by the White House in a later statement that underscores both leaders' goals to reach a mutual understanding of the issue. The Israeli Prime Minister is making his conviction clear that Jewish settlements aren't the core of the conflict with the Palestinians, and he's also holding back on committing to restricting building in the disputed territories. The topic on which there is absolute agreement, though, is the threat posed by Iran. According to the White House release, both men agree the 2015 pact was a terrible deal for the U.S., Israel, and the world. And the U.S. president is reassuring the Israeli Prime Minister that Iran will never be permitted to obtain nuclear weapon capabilities. So, what are the reactions from the people most affected by the White House summit between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. President Donald Trump? Reporters from Reuters hit the streets of Tel Aviv and the West Bank city of Hebron to find out. According to the news service, Israelis and Palestinians share a rather pessimistic outlook of any real change resulting from the White House talks. Citizens interviewed in both locations are voicing little hope that the latest resetting of relations between Jerusalem and Washington will be any more successful than previous efforts in resolving the conflict that has divided them for decades.
I don't think that it will open any area of negotiation between Israel and the Palestinians.
I think that it's not going to be any change at the situation right now. And they talking and something to the, like me, to the guy that live in Israel, not going to be something really necessary.
Palestinians in Hebron watched the news conference with the very same sense of wariness while continuing to express suspicion and angry accusations against Israel.
أنا كفلسطيني يعني إحنا مش أول رئيس أمريكي جديد ولا رئيس للكيان الصهيوني بيتحرك وبتحدث في الإعلام. إحنا على مدار التاريخ شهدنا رؤساء الولايات المتحدة وغيرها تنكروا لحقوقنا.
لقاء نتنياهو لترامب بالضبط نفس لقاء أوباما لنتنياهو، مش رح يفرق كتير يعني، مش رح يفرق على أي شيء، لأنه دايما إحنا بنسمع أنه في لقاء بس دايما في انتهاكات للسلام. هم بيحكوا أنه في سلام بس دايما في انتهاك للسلام وين ما كان. عندنا دايما بعد أي لقاء بده يصير يعني بتوقف الاستيطان، بوقف مثلا الاغتيال، بوقف اي شيء. يعني مش راح يفرق، مش راح يعمل الفرق الكبير عندنا بالضفة.
It's important to note that the new American president outspokenly supports Netanyahu's insistence that no breakthrough with the Palestinians is possible until they reverse their refusal to recognize Israel as a Jewish state and immediately halt incitement against Israeli citizens. Joining me now on the phone from the United States to discuss some of the recent comments made by Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump is senior Israeli diplomat and former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Dani Ayalon. Thanks so much for joining us, Ambassador.
My pleasure, Natasha.
All right, so let's begin. Now, do you think the outcomes from the first official meeting match the expectations that Trump will be more pro-Israel than former President Barack Obama?
Oh, absolutely, without any doubt. And I think the main objective of Netanyahu was to establish relationship which is built on the mutual respect and mutual trust. And I think the optics of the meetings was just as important as the content. And in that respect, I think the objective was fully achieved.
Now, with respect to the two-state solution, President Trump seemed to back away from enforcing any two-state-focused peace deal. How does this kind of rhetoric affect the prospects of peace in the Middle East, in your opinion?
Well, I think this is certainly a breath of fresh air because we have seen former administrations for more than almost 50 years have tried the same old trick of pushing Israel and not enough pressure on the Palestinians. I think for the first time we see a president who is willing to also push the Palestinians. And I believe that they will understand now that there is a new administration in Washington that does not see, and I think rightly so, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as the central issue in the Middle East or in the world. It's not the Palestinian-Israeli conflict that has destabilized the Middle East or that has harmed security all over. And in that respect, I think the Palestinians hopefully will understand that they will also have to compromise and not only Israel.
Asking Netanyahu to slow down on settlement expansion seemed to be the extent of President Trump's criticism of Israel's recent policies. Do you think a firmer hand is needed from the United States when it comes to settlements, or was Trump's commentary more open-minded or level-headed than it might appear?
No, I think that we have to take Trump's comment very, very seriously, even though it was given in a kind of almost an afterthought. But I think he meant every word, because what is obvious also from the meeting and also from my meetings in Washington last week with many friends in the White House and on the Hill is that Trump does want a deal, as we call it. And with a deal, as every businessman knows, there should be a compromise from all sides. So in that respect, I think Israel will also have to give in. And the first thing it seems like that the building in Judea and Samaria will probably have to slow down. And it seems that even the Prime Minister is amenable to this request of the President, because he doesn't want to start relations with him on the wrong foot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador, and I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens.
My pleasure. Anytime, Natasha.
One of the topics discussed between the Israeli Prime Minister and the U.S. President is garnering a great deal of interest today, and it's all about how regional cooperation from regional Arab states is countering the Iranian threat from behind the scenes. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Trump administration is now trying to develop a NATO-like military alliance of Sunni Arab nations, who would consider an attack on one of the countries by Shiite Iran as an attack against all. The journal is citing an unnamed official who says that neither the U.S. nor Israel would be directly part of the arrangement, but would actively support the group. Israel's role is likely to be intelligence sharing, at which the country particularly excels. This mutual defense union is believed to include Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, among others such as Israel's peace partners Jordan and Egypt. According to the source, these nations' diplomatic missions in Washington are already being asked to join the new force. He says that the Jewish state is one of the most sophisticated and technologically advanced countries in the field of mining and a world leader in the water engineering industry, both of which are of major interest to Riyadh. While Jerusalem currently holds no formal ties to most of the Arab states, there's reportedly been a warming of relations amid secret talks on matters of regional security in recent months, with emphasis placed on Iranian expansionist aspirations. Antisemitism is dramatically on the rise in Europe, and Jews are frightened. That's at least the view of the chief rabbi of Ukraine, Ark of Life, who told ILTV's Steve Leibowitz that a large segment of European Jewry will be exiting the continent in the coming years, and Israel will be their destination.
There definitely is a tremendous rise in anti-Semitism in Europe, even though it's different than the fascism and the anti-Semitism that took place before World War II. I think that in today's modern age, we have much more to fear from the anti-Semitism that's going on today than 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. There's a very strong Muslim undercurrent and overtone to the anti-Semitism that we find here in Europe today. The amount of immigration, natural growth, the Muslims are really sort of taking over Europe to a great extent. And along with it is coming a tremendous wave of anti-Semitism. And I don't and cannot agree with some of the reports that come out from Misrad HaTfutzot and from others, where they start looking at the number of anti-Semitic acts without taking into consideration that before people walk out to the street, they don't call up Israel to find out how many acts of anti-Semitism there were in France this year. When French Jews walk the streets of Paris and they're frightened, or when Belgian Jews walk in the streets of Brussels and they're told take off your kippah because it's dangerous for a Jew to walk in the street, they're not calling up to find out how many acts of anti-Semitism there were. There's something in the change of society that affects the day-to-day life of Jews in Europe, and that's pushing them to find places that are more comfortable for them as Jews. Many of them will make Aliyah. There's no question about many of them will make Aliyah. However, I think the challenge to the state of Israel, the government of Israel today, is for them to make Israel attractive to French Jews and to European Jews, to do more outreach and to do more of what they did when the Soviet Jews had no choice. They had to come. French Jews are looking at different places. Many French Jews have moved to England. Many French Jews have moved to Canada, to Montreal, that French-speaking country. And I think that Israel has to build up more of an attractive measure to make sure that they come and they integrate.
So you're expecting that there will be many members of the Jewish community from throughout Europe that will be leaving and seeking another place to live, with Israel as one alternative?
100%. I think that the Sar Klita in Israel will be French within 10 years.
Minister of Absorption.
Minister of Absorption will be French within 10 years.
It seems that even Hamas's leaders aren't immune from social media trickery, as the terror group's newly appointed leader has already become the subject of a PR scandal. ILTV's Aaron Porras has more on the story. Aaron, what's going on in Gaza?
So the new Hamas leader who has been appointed, his name is Yahya Sinwar. He sat in Israeli prison for over 20 years for terrorism. And now, as for the scandal, let's take a look at my report and I'll tell you some more. The Hamas terror organization, which reigns over the Gaza Strip, has recently announced that Yahya Sinwar will be their new political leader, replacing Ismail Haniyeh. The 55-year-old Sinwar is already apparently embroiled in this scandal. A fake Twitter account was created in his name, and the first and only tweet to have been posted reads, "I am not after a political post, but I will make Netanyahu cry over his. Hamas officials immediately stated that the account is fake and that Yahya Sinwar won't be tweeting because he doesn't have any accounts on Twitter or any other social media sites. The statement posted to Hamas's official website continued by saying, quote, "We warn against circulating anything that is published through these fraudulent accounts," end quote. Sinwar sat in Israeli jail from 1989 to 2011 for his involvement in terrorism and was freed in the prisoner exchange deal for Gilad Shalit in October of 2011. Sinwar is one of the founders of Hamas's military wing and is considered a military extremist. The fake Twitter account, though just a day or so old, has already garnered over 1,300 followers, and the tweet was shared nearly 400 times.
If you've ever wanted to buy your very own home in Israel, now's the best opportunity that anyone's seen in over a decade. ILTV's Aaron Porras joins me in the studio again to fill us in on the details.
Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, I think you're in way better shape now than ever before, or at least in a very long time, to buy some property. But the new legislation, coupled with a downward trend in prices, makes this a hot period for buyers and would-be homeowners in the Jewish state. So definitely start, looking at the listings.
Yeah, it might be time to buy a home.
Consumers are now greeting the news that housing prices dropped 1.2% this past December, which is more than any other 30-day period since 2007. Since 2007, though, any young couples hoping to buy their first homes can tell you that costs have almost doubled. Invest analysts say they're not really surprised by this latest decline. There have been quite a few recent signs in the housing sector indicating it was on its way, such as fewer homes on the market, a spike in mortgage rates over the past 18 months, and less interest by investors. The dramatic drop is also more than likely due to several new policies enacted by Israeli Finance Minister Moshe Kachron. He's been vowing to bring down property prices by hitting owners of multiple homes with taxes, as well as implementing programs to help first-time buyers. The trend is expected to continue over the next several months, so pick up a classified section, because now may be the ideal time to purchase your dream house in Israel.
One of the largest challenges facing humanity today is the struggle for clean water. People have been working towards a solution for a long time, and it's not like the answer will come out of thin air, or can it? Joining me in the studio today is Executive Chairman of Watergen, Maxim Pasik, to explain how his company's technology might save millions. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So let's hear about this. What does Watergen technology do? This sounds incredible.
Yes, it is. It's like a kind of miracles. So Watergen created a revolutionary technology that can take the air that all of us breathe and convert it to the clean drinking water. So we have the patented technology that with very small amount of the electricity of the consumption, we can convert the air to the water. So actually we have small, medium and big devices that can make from 15 liters of water per day for houses, for the offices, for the hospitals, till hundreds of thousands of liters per day of clean drinking water. So
this is incredible.
It's really incredible because this is the most important problem of the world. By 2025, 2/3 of the world will have shortage of clean drinking water, and billions of people are suffering from this. Most of the diseases are coming from the
lack of clean water.
From lack of clean water. So actually, our vision is to solve this kind of crisis. We have created the special technology that is good from the small village, for the household, and to entire country.
So can you tell us a little bit about how this works? Just pulling water out of thin air, as we said. How does this, it just sounds so mind-boggling to me.
We have a lot of humidity in the air.
Right.
So what we actually is doing, we are taking the air, we are cleaning the air, and it's very easy to clean the air. It's very complicated to clean the water. But to clean the air, it's very easy. So we are cleaning the air, we extract from the air the water, we treat the water, and after the people drink the water. We add the minerals to the water, so the water in the best quality of the best mineral water that you drink.
It's unbelievable. Now, how did you come up with this idea?
The idea came from 2010. The company was established in 2010, and we started from the military issues because we wanted to help to the armies to have the water on the ground, because the most problematic things for the soldiers is to bring the water, because the water is heavy. So from this, the company started to develop the products, And now we have the product that can really change the world. We are one of the most innovative companies in the world. We have a lot of international recognition. I have been in the United States in the UN during General Assembly.
Well, that's actually, I wanted to ask you about
yeah.
this because I understand that you're going to be accompanying the Israeli Prime Minister to Australia very soon, correct?
Yeah, I'm going on Motzei Shabbat, on Saturday to Australia together with the Israeli Prime Minister. And in Australia, the problem of the clean drinking water is one of the biggest problems.
Right.
We can solve this problem also for Australia, also for India, also for China, also for the 2/3 of the world. And it is very important visit for State of Israel. It's one of innovative companies of Israel.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really just kind of an example of how much innovation is coming out of the Israeli state. So I can only imagine how proud the government would be to share this technology that you've created. Now, is it available to people yet? I mean, I myself, for example, if I was going on a camping trip somewhere, could I get this device?
You need the electricity for this.
Okay.
Only the electricity, but the devices are available, small devices, medium devices, and big devices. They're available.
Okay.
We are making pilots with the biggest countries, with Mexico, with India, with China, with the Gulf countries. Everybody would like to get these kind of devices because it's no other alternative source of water. This is why it's one of the pride of our country, because also, as I told you, in United Nations, I presented it during General Assembly in the meeting that was in the event that was organized by the Prime Minister in front of the 26 African leaders. We joined the visit to Ruby Livrin to India now before 1 month and presented to the Indian government. We are now coming with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm going next month to the United States, because it's a lot of demand, even for United States, for California, for Florida. It can be a solution to solve the water crisis that they have.
Well, I mean, the demand for a product like this is just, you can't even imagine how many people need. I mean, it's really unbelievable. There are billions of people in need of access to clean water. So it seems like you guys have created something that could really save millions of lives and the world as a whole. So thank you so much for creating something like this and for coming into our studio today.
Thank you very much.
Scientists currently estimate that between 150 and 200 living species of plants, insects, birds, and mammals become extinct every 24 hours. This tragic loss is greater now than any time in world history since the vanishing of the dinosaurs nearly 65 million years ago. Now, one Israeli zoological center has just launched the Ark of Life project to preserve as many endangered animals and birds as is possible. NOAA collected all the animals and saved them from extinction years ago, and now it's our turn to do the same. That's what Dr. Yigal Horovitz says, who's heading the project. The chief veterinarian of the Ramat Gan Safari Park outside Tel Aviv also told the Israel 21C news outlet that in the biblical story, Noah saved the animals because of a flood, while today's crisis is caused by people harming nature, and the modern ark is composed of containers of liquid nitrogen. The initiative is being launched with the help of 2 German zoological institutes and involves the creation of a DNA tissue bank that's specifically focused on animal and bird species expected to become extinct in the next few years. The Ark of Life is a first conservation effort of this type in the Middle East. The Israeli experts say these precious samples can be stored for as long as 3,000 years. It's very much hoped that future technological advances will be able to utilize this frozen Israeli zoo. Perhaps one day it can be used to save the last remaining members of a species or recreate certain organs for transplants and even possibly bring entire species of animals who no longer walk the earth back to life.
The Hebrew word of the day is brought to you by the University of Haifa, Hebrew Summer Ulpan, open to everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Today's word is atid, meaning future, and storing DNA of nearly extinct animals is just one way in which the Jewish state is preparing for the atid. Israel built a security barrier to prevent attacks in the atid. We make plans and save up for our kids' atid, and we even have a political party named Yesh Atid, meaning there is a future. Now, while it's important to think about, we spend so much time thinking about the atid that it can sometimes feel like we're forgetting about living in the present. So just remember to slow down and not let the atid overshadow what's important. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the atid. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast.
ILTV's weather forecast is sponsored by Adopt a Savta, taking care of Israel's lonely Holocaust survivors.
The weekend is here and it's expected to be partly cloudy with unseasonably cold weather, and tonight's low being 41 or 5 degrees Celsius. The weekend's high will be around 62 or 17 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.74 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. Thanks for watching and see you later.